Page 59. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in wa ba'd. So on page 59, we're finished with issue number 7. But let's just go quickly back to the issues. So issue number 1, what are the things that break your fast? Fasting. Again, you see the same answer from yesterday.
Eating, drinking, and sexual relationship.
Alright, so number 2, what about a person that forgot he was fasting and he ate or drank?
As if Allah has given him food.
Yes. Continuous fast. The hadith is who?
The Prophet.
I know it's from the Prophet. Alright, but if he eats and drinks anything after he remembers, his fast is void. Issue 3, does using miswak break my fast?
Only if you drink the water.
Yes, if you get a fresh miswak and it has the water in it, and you swallow the water, not drink it, but swallow it, because it's not. Yeah, it says that will break your fast. Otherwise, you have to spit the juice out. And issue number 4, what about brushing my teeth with toothpaste? Does this break my fast?
No, unless you swallow it.
Alright, no, unless you swallow it. But what's the best thing to do? What's the best case scenario? Just brush your teeth right at the time before you start your fast. Because you're not going to be eating and drinking all day. So you can use miswak if you have a miswak, you know. And what you can do, the easiest way to prep the miswak for the day is to do what? Use the miswak before Fajr, so you get all the juice out, and then it's just let it dry up. Because you can wash the spit off of the miswak and just let it dry. And then that way, if you want to, use it throughout the day, you can use it throughout the day. So, does kissing one's spouse cause the fast to become void?
No, it depends.
No, it doesn't. Well, okay, yes, it depends on what.
Like,
you're right.
The exchange of slides.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a changing of fluids from the mouth, and yes, that breaks the fast. But if it's just kissing with the lips, no. Or kissing on the cheek or something like that, no, it doesn't break the fast.
So when you say exchanging of the saliva, theoretically speaking, if the saliva after the other person's saliva has to go down, or is it just when the saliva enters the mouth?
No, when you swallow.
Okay.
I mean, because you're going to.
Yeah, I just.
And we don't want to go into details because it's gonna.
For the other people.
This video will no longer be for children anymore. So. What's that?
Keep fasting too when you're doing that stuff.
What are you talking about?
Kissing and stuff, you said if you like,
15.
if he's young, that's good.
Well, this is what we talked about yesterday. If the person is a young person and he's, well, it doesn't even matter because dude could be 30 years old, 40 years old, and he still gets super excited. But if he's that type of person, then he should refrain from doing anything that's going to affect his fasting. Anything. Alright. Issue number 6, does vomiting break one's fast? And we dealt with 2 things. What are they?
If it's intentional or unintentional.
If it's intentional or unintentional. According to the Jumhur of the ulama, the vast consensus of the ulama, what did they say? If it's intentional, if it's unintentional, what? It's valid. If it's intentional, invalid, according to the Jumhur of the ulama. Now, when we look at the hadith and we see that the hadith is what? Is weak. And now we don't have any other evidence to show that intentionally vomiting breaks your fast. So what would we say? What would our opinion be? It doesn't break the fast, whether it's intentional or unintentional. I know I'm looking at it over there. I keep looking over there because of that. Yeah, so, yeah, the lightning. Yeah, it's lightning outside, so mashallah. Alright, now we're going to go to issue number 7. This is now we start our class for the day. Issue 7, does cupping break the fast? This is another major subject for debate due to the different hadiths that were narrated on this issue. And really I cannot do this issue justice in this book. Because I really wanted to keep this book concise as possible. And in this issue, you have to delve too much into like too many different statements of the ulama, and different opinions, and different looks at the hadith, you know, so I just really, I didn't do this issue justice here because I wanted to keep it simple. I didn't want to confuse the people. So just keep that in mind. We will go over the hadiths and find a conclusive ruling, inshallah. The first hadith, and Shaddad ibn Aws radiallahu anhu, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, أتى على رجل بالبقيع وهو يحتجم في رمضان فقال أفطر الحاجم والمحجوم. رواه الخمسة إلى الترمذي وصححه أحمد وابن خزيمة وابن حبان. So the Prophet ﷺ came across a man in a Baqi', which is in Medina, who was having himself, he was being cut in Ramadan. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, Aftara al-hajim wal-mahjum. So the person who's doing the cupping and the person being cut have both what? Broke the fast. Alright, and this hadith is narrated by all of the khamsa except for Tirmidhi. So it's actually narrated by four. Tirmidhi, without Tirmidhi, and Imam Ahmad. What's up?
So what do they mean by cupping?
Cupping is a type of medical procedure. Or you take a cup, you like take some cotton, light it on fire, and pull the blood up in certain areas where the person's having pain to get get that bad blood out. So what you do is you put the cup on to pull the blood to the surface. Then you cut, and then you put another cup on to suck that bad blood out. So this way the blood flow starts to improve wherever that area the person's having problems in.
That's considered breaking fast?
According to this hadith.
It's called hijamah, right?
Hijamah, yes. Very good. Alright. This hadith is authentic and it very clearly shows that cupping causes the fast to become void. So there's no issue about the hadith. So we can't just say what? The hadith is mu'allam. No, it's not. Alright, the hadith is authentic. Here we see the statement of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is for the person being cupped and the one doing the cupping. In this hadith, we have what appears to be a definite prohibition of cupping while fasting. The second hadith, and Anas ibn Malik رضي الله عنه قال: أول ما كرهت الحجامة للصائم أن جعفر بن أبي طالب احتجم وهو صائم فمر به النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال أفطر هذان. So here we have the same issue. In the beginning of Islam, and here Anas ibn Malik, he said what? Kurihat. Okay, and kurihat, does that mean that it's haram? No.
I don't know hadith.
But when we're talking about the ahkam, like especially if we say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yakrahu hadha, does that mean it's makruh or it's haram? Haram. So kurihat. But here we will say that it does mean dislike because it came from the Sahaba. Came from Anas ibn Malik. He said kurihat, and he's speaking from the language, from the aspect of the language. And this is an aspect of language. So kurihat, it means it was disliked. Alright, so he did not see it as being what? Haram. That there was dislike to do this. And then when he saw them, he said, the same like the story before, he saw them and he said, Aftara hadan. So both of these two have what? Broken their fast. ثم رخص النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بعد الحجامة للصائم وكان أنس يحتجم وهو صائم رواه دارقطني وقواه. So now we look at this hadith now, where he said that this was in the beginning of Islam, where the Prophet ﷺ, he passed by them, he saw them two, one was cupping the other, and he said, both of you have broken your fast. But he said, then after that, the Prophet ﷺ rakhasa. What does rakhasa mean? It means like he allowed it, he gave permission for it. He gave a rukhsa. Like you're allowed to do it if it's necessary, or something that you have to do. Alright, just like, combining the salawat, these are all rukhsa. You get permission to do these things. Because of obviously nobody's going to do a hijamah, because you wouldn't do a hijamah in a normal day just for the fun of it. Hijamah, is not something that you do for the fun of it. You do it because you have a medical condition, and that medical condition is caused by a blockage of the blood, because you got bad blood built up, and you need to get that bad blood out to cause the other blood to flow. So if you go back to what Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah, what he mentioned in Tibb al-Nabawi and Zad al-Ma'ad, what did he say? He said, the biggest benefit that you have is what? The blood that you have in your body. And he said, don't take the blood out of your body for anything unless it's absolutely what? Necessary. So you're sick, you have some type of ailment that requires you to do a hijamah, which is the cupping, you do it. You're not going to do it for fun. You're not going to do it, because the Sahaba did it. They did it for a purpose. If you're going to do it for the reason that they did it. If you're having back problems, you're having things like, things that are caused because of the blood not flowing properly, and there's blockage, you do it. You do it for that purpose, but not for just for fun. So that's number one. So obviously the person's not going to do the cupping, the hijamah, for fun. And he's definitely not going to do it while he's fasting for fun. Because you're taking blood out of the body, which is going to weaken you, and it's going to make your fasting even more difficult. So obviously you're going to, plus because after you take the blood out of your body, what do you need to do? Yeah, you need to replenish what you lost and get because the body has to start building blood again. You're fasting. So that means you're not eating, you're not drinking, so the body has to wait all the way up until Maghrib until you can start replenishing it again. So you just stay in a state of weakness? No, that's not. So obviously, if the person's doing it, he's doing it for a reason. So that's why the Prophet ﷺ, he did this in the beginning as like a zajr, to keep the people from doing it. But then he gave rukhsa, which means he gave permission for the people to do it later. But we're going to get to that in a second. Hold on, because we're not done yet. So then he said, ثم رخص النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بعد الحجامة للصائم وكان أنس يحتجم وهو صائم. So Anas used to do this when he was fasting. Alright, and this hadith is narrated by Atonement. In this hadith, we see that the action of cupping while fasting was disliked, but then the Prophet ﷺ allowed the people to cup. However, this hadith is not authentic. There are two narrators in the chain whose hadith are not accepted, and they are Khalid ibn al-Makhlad and Abdullah ibn al-Muthanna. Due to this hadith being weak, we remain on the first opinion that cupping while fasting is not permissible. Okay, so that's two. Two down, one to go, right? So let's see what the third hadith is. The third hadith on Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم احتجم وهو محرم واحتجم وهو صائم رواه البخاري. So now we don't have any issue with the chain of narration, inshallah. So this is related by Ibn Abbas that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did the hijamah when he was muhram. That means when he was in ihram for what? Either for hajj or for umrah, right? And then واحتجم وهو صائم. And then he also did the hijamah when he was fasting. Alright, it does not mention Ramadan, it just mentioned Atonement, fasting. Alright, in this hadith from Sahih al-Bukhari, we see that the Prophet ﷺ himself was coupled while he was fasting. Obviously, if the Prophet ﷺ did this action, it is permissible. Now we have two hadiths that seem to contradict each other, and they are both authentic, so how do we combine it between the two? Now, we talked about this before. Early on, and when we started these lessons, we said this exactly. We have two authentic hadiths, and then when we look at them, they contradict each other, right? Apparent on the law, it's on the surface. It seems like they contradict each other. How do we deal with them? That's a good answer. Can't argue with that. Anybody that says Allahu A'lam definitely can't argue with that. So number one is we try to do what? Al-Jama' baynahuma. We try to combine, we try to find some way that we can combine between the two. We can take the hadith of Daraqutni, for example, that is not authentic, but it does give us some insight to maybe what the case might have been. That, for example, in the beginning of Islam, it was makruh, and then the Prophet ﷺ later gave the rukhsah, and then he began himself to do it himself. Alright, that's one possibility to show. Or we can say that this hadith in Bukhari is what? The nasikh, and this other one is what? The mansukh. Alright, so like this was in the beginning of Islam, this was the ruling, and then the Prophet ﷺ began to do it, and his action, nasakha al-hukm al-awwal. So now let's see what the mu'allaf says, inshallah. He said, غفر الله له. According to Imam Shafi'i, the third hadith abrogates the first hadith. So according to Imam Shafi'i, nasikh wal mansukh, right? In the beginning, cupping was not allowed for the person fasting, then it became allowed. That is because the foundational principle in regards to fasting is that the fast is broken from what enters the body, not what leaves it. There's only one condition where the fast is broken from something that leaves the body, and what is that? Yes, it's an emission of sexual activity. Yes, no other, anything else leaving the body, no. Alright, being that blood is being taken out of the body, it does not break the fast. This ruling is the same whether we are dealing with cupping or donating blood. So I put that in there obviously because people are always asking about what? Should I donate blood? Should I donate blood? Yes. Alright, but you should do but as far as donating blood, what's the...
Is it permissible?
Well, I wouldn't, why would we donate our blood, the blood of a Muslim to kaffarah? If you donate it, if you know a Muslim's in need, and the brother is having surgery and they need blood, we find Muslims to donate blood to that Muslim. But why would we donate our blood, a Muslim blood, to the kaffarah? They're not sending blood over to the hospitals in Palestine, are they? Or any other place that the Muslims are being killed. They don't seem to care about us, so why should we care about them? It's very simple. Sorry, too.
You barely even care about one another.
Yeah, they don't even care about one another. So no, if a Muslim's in need of blood, and we have the brother that has the blood type, yeah, we want the brother to get blood from a Muslim. You gotta have a kafir donate blood to a Muslim for. You don't know what's in that blood, man. Pig juice and weed and alcohol, malt liquor, and so almost done. You don't know what's in this blood. Yeah, we don't want no kafir's blood, man. Let me bleed out.
They don't give no blood unless it's family. Now they only give plasma. They take the plasma out, which is they set the white cells and the protoplasm, but not the blood. That's what they take now.
We're not going to donate anything for their benefit to keep them alive so they can continue committing shirk and kufr in this land. That's that. So for giving it to a kafir, no. No. Because you're aiding in extending his life on kufr. If there's a way that you can give dawah and maybe you hope that the person might become Muslim, you're like sitting by his bed and you donate the blood and things like that, maybe, okay, in that situation, say, okay, do it because there's some form of benefit. But if there's no benefit for a Muslim, and this kafir is going to continue living by the permission of Allah, and he's going to continue doing his kufr and his shirk, and no, I mean, we don't assist in that. That's the ta'awun of the with everyone. Alright. So he said, being that blood is taken, where I say it, now donating blood. There are many different opinions regarding this issue, but Imam Shafi'i's opinion is the most logical of all those best, because it's the easiest way to combine between the two hadiths, without saying anything. Because this hadith is authentic, and they don't really contradict each other. I mean, this was at the beginning of Islam, this was in the early days of Islam, and this was what the Prophet ﷺ used to do later on. Very simple. Khalas. The easiest and most logical approach. The only other way that we can do this is to say, no, that this hadith, makes this hadith da'if. No, it's too much. Right? This one is the nasakh, this one is mansukh. Khalas. Any questions about that? So should you cup while you're fasting? No. Alright, does it break your fast? No. Alright. Should you cup if you don't have a need or purpose of doing it? No. Only if you have some type of physical ailment that requires it. Just like taking medicine. You're not just going to take medicine for fun because you want to know what it does to you. Yeah, you're going to take medicine because of what? A need. It's some type of need. Exactly. Issue number 8. What about the man that has sexual relations with his wife during Ramadan? This is also a very complex issue. Just like this issue, I only gave you a very small talqis, like a bridge version of all the kalam al-ulama. If I were to sit here I could probably just write a whole risala just on everything that they say. The book that I wrote about the free mixing? That size book, I could write that just on this issue about cupping alone.
But obviously that was breaking fast though, right? That break fast, right?
What's that?
What you
Cupping.
No. Yeah, intercourse.
It breaks your fast, but we're going to be dealing with a different issue. Another issue that's connected to it. Alright, so you'll see in a second, inshallah. So first of all, sexual relations with one spouse breaks a person's fast. Included in this issue is the person that...
Masturbates. Oh.
I was not going to say it.
Oh.
Because of the age restriction.
Pleasure themselves.
Yeah, for the person who seeks personal pleasure themselves, whether it be a male or a female. However, there is a different ruling in regards to the person that has sexual relations in Ramadan, and that issue is an issue of kaffarah. The word kaffarah in the Arabic language refers to something you give or an action you are required to do as an atonement for the sin that you committed. The issue of having sexual relations, so kaffarah is like for what? We have them, if we take an oath, and we say, well, wallahi, I will never do this, and then you do it. There's a kaffarah. If you do another, and you say, wallahi, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, cures my father of his sickness, I will give this amount of money in sadaqah, but you don't do it. Now there's what? There's a kaffarah. So if you're now with the fasting, the ruling in regards to the man who has sexual relations with his wife during Ramadan, during the day in Ramadan, is also the issue of what? Kaffarah. So this is what we're going to look at now.
That's like a lie to like.
It's an atonement.
It's an atonement lie.
No, it's like something that you have to do to atone. So either you have to feed, like for example, if you do a halaf billah, and then just like the Prophet ﷺ said, من حلف وراء خير منه فليأتي ما هو خير ويكفر عن يمينه. So the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever swears or takes an oath with Allah, that that he won't do something or he will do something, but then he sees something better, then let him do what's better and let him atone for his halaf. So what is the atonement for the halaf? If a person swears by Allah that he's going to do something but he doesn't do it, how does he atone for this? No. Either one, he's got to feed asharat al-masakin, so he's got to feed 10 poor people. If he's not able to feed 10 poor people, because maybe he is a poor person, and what does he have to do next?
Clothe
them. Or he has to clothe them, 10 people. But if he can't do that either,
fast for 3 days.
Then he has to fast for 3 days. Alright, and the same is for the other, the swearing that, if you give me this and I'll do this, but you don't do it. It's makruh. Because the Prophet said, إِنَّمَا يُسْتَخْرَجْ مِنْهُ الْبَخِيلِ. The person that, يُسْتَخْرَجْ مِنْهُ الْبَخِيلِ, it means that the person that would never do the action, he's not a person of fasting, he doesn't fast. The only thing that will get him to fast is what? No, that another. So he says, oh Allah, if you cure my father of his sickness, I will fast for 90 days straight. And he will never fast for 90 days. He's bakhil, he probably won't even fast for Mondays and Thursdays. But the another now will what? Make him do it. And I've known some people, they constantly do these nadur to do what? No, just to make them have to do it. Because they will never do these actions, so they say, oh Allah, if you give me this, and maybe he's having problems paying the rent. He said, oh Allah, if you give me the money for rent, I'll stand up and pray at night for the entire year. But he does another just because to make himself have to do these things. Because he wouldn't do them unless he was.
It wasn't mandatory.
Yeah, but it wasn't mandatory. Because once you take that another,
You have to do it.
now it becomes mandatory. It's not mandatory before. Now you have to fast 90 days. Unless, obviously, there's 8. Well, this is the issue for later on. Alright, so, this is the issue. The issue of having sexual relations with one spouse during Ramadan came in the following hadith. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال جاء رجل إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال هلكت يا رسول الله. So the man came to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم and said, what? I'm destroyed. And then the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, وما أهلكك? And what destroyed you? قال وقعت على امرأتي في رمضان. He said, I landed on my wife in Ramadan. It's a nice way of saying, yeah, he did the do. did do whatever. فقال هل تجد ما تعتق رقبة. He said, do you find enough that you can free that you can free a slave? قال لا. قال فهل تستطيع أن تصوم شهرين متتابعين. Are you able to fast 2 months متتاليين in a row without cutting off anything? قال لا. He said no. قال فهل تجد ما تطعم 60 مسكينا. Do you have enough food that you can feed 64 people? قال لا. ثم جلس, and then he sat down. فأتي النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بعرق فيه تمر. So the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم was brought with a thing of dates. Alright, a large thing of dates, right? فقال تصدق بهذا. He said, go ahead and give this in charity. This way he can do what? Fulfill his kaffarah, right? فقال على أفقر مني يا رسول الله. على أفقر منا. You know, okay, we're going to give this in charity to somebody poorer than us. فما بين لابتيها أهل بيت أحوج إليه منا. So there's nobody between all these walls of Medina, there's nobody poorer than us. That are more in need of these days than us, my family. فضحك النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم حتى بدت أنيابه. So the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم began to laugh. And when we say that the Prophet ضحك, it doesn't mean that he used to laugh with what? He didn't used to laugh with a sound, but he used to smile. You know, so he used to smile broadly until the back part of his back teeth would show. And this showed like, you know, whenever something was funny, basically. حتى بدت أنيابه ثم قال اذهب عنه أهلك. He said, go and feed this to your family. Alright, so this hadith, Rawahu Sab'a. Rawahu Sab'a means what? Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, Nasa'i, Ibn Majah, Ahmed. All 7. So like if all 7 narrated this, you do not have any doubt about this, because one is muttafaqun alayhi. Alright, because Bukhari and Muslim, but then you have all the other 5 books also narrated this hadith, so there shouldn't be any doubt about the authenticity. There's difference with the wordings. You'll find different wordings of the hadith. Now, as you can see, this is a major issue, as you see how long this is, right? So the vast majority of the scholars of Islam are on the opinion that if a person has sexual relations with his or her spouse during Ramadan, he or she must atone for that sin through a kaffarah. As we can clearly see in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ details the 3 ways for atonement. But there's other issues about this hadith. So this is what I want you to focus on while we're reading. Number 1, the Prophet gave him 3 things. What? Free the slave. What? Feed how many people? 10? 60. Alright, or fast what? Fast 60 consecutive days, or 2 months. 2 consecutive months. Alright, so that's that, right? But he didn't do any of those 3 things. The Prophet gave him the dates, and he what? And he gave the dates to his family. So he didn't feed 60 people, he didn't free anybody, and he didn't what? He didn't fast anything. Yeah, because he said, I can't fast. So that's one issue that we got to look at. The second issue, the Prophet ﷺ only mentioned what? The kaffarah for the man. He never mentioned that you and your wife have to do this, and you and your wife have to do this, right? So this brings up what? Another issue. Alright, so the first issue is what if the person has no means? So does that mean that the kaffarah is binding on the person or no? Well, we don't know. We're going to get into that in a second. The second issue that we need to look at is what about the woman? Does the woman also have the kaffarah? But even if she was an active participant. Now, we're not talking about, okay, she's sleeping and the man just jumps up, you know, and she doesn't know what's going on. She's not an active participant at this point. So no doubt, there's no doubt at this point, the man is the person who's going to have to do the kaffarah. The woman, even there would be, doubt as to whether or not her fast is even broken. Why?
It was unintentional.
It was unintentional on her part. It's just like her having a wet dream, you know. But now once she woke up and she didn't get off of me, fool, it's Ramadan, you know. Then obviously, now she becomes an active participant. So that's another issue. But so these are all things that we're going to be looking at right here for these pages. these 2 pages, inshallah.
Quick question. Can it be said that this is a major sin because the man told the Prophet ﷺ, halak? Does that prove that it's a major sin from the vocabulary that halak?
Yeah, no doubt. Doing these types of things in Ramadan. Yeah, because he didn't make inkar on his statement. When he asked him, he said, Ma halakak. And he explained to him, he gave him the solution to atone for that sin. But he didn't tell him, no, you're not destroyed, but he gave him the way to get out of being destroyed, you know? So yeah, no doubt. The vast majority of the scholars of Islam are on the opinion that if a person has sexual relations with his or her spouse during Ramadan, he or she must atone for that sin through a kaffarah. As we can clearly see in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ details the 3 ways for atonement. The first step is to free a slave. Obviously, in our time, that is not even an option. So we would automatically go to the next option. The second option is to fast for 2 months consecutively. That means that there cannot be any stoppage or breaks between them. This is a mistake in the book. Wait. No, that's right. I made a mistake when I was doing the translation of the hadith. It's so correct that it says freeing a slave, fasting 60 days, or feeding. The feeding is the last thing that he mentioned. Yeah. Because I memorized it from a different wording, I think, so I don't know. I gotta go back and check the wording out. I used the wording from Bulugh al-Maram, because originally my plan was to make this book an explanation of Bulugh al-Maram. That's why you see a lot of this, Akhraj al-Sab'a, Akhraj al-Khamsa, but other ahadith I took straight out of Bukhari and Muslim to add to the different masail because those ahadith were not in Bulugh al-Maram. Alright. Give it to the brother. Yeah. So yeah, the second option is what? That the person fasts for 60 days. Consecutive days. Where am I? Okay. That means that there cannot be any stoppage or breaks between the fast, or the person will have to begin again. Now that is unless the person has a valid excuse. If you really get ill and you're not able to fast, you can stop fasting, and as soon as you're better, you can continue to fast. But you cannot stop the 60 days without any valid excuse. Like you can't say, I'm traveling and I'm going to stop fasting. Or I'm going to I'm feeling tired today, I'm not fasting. No, there has to be a valid excuse that you cannot fast that day. Otherwise, if you stop the 60 days, because it's consecutive, you have to start from day 1 all over again. You have to start from day 1 all over again. Yeah. Alright, because it's consecutive. Alright, and that means that there cannot be any stoppage or breaks between the fast, or the person will have to begin again. However, some scholars have made exemptions for a person that becomes extremely ill during the fast and is unable to fast for a few days, and also for a woman, if she might have to have this kaffarah if we go with the opinion that the woman has to do it. And maybe something happens because she menstruates. She can't fast during her menstruation, can she? So she stops the fasting while she's menstruating. Yes, I see it. He's like, he's listening to the class but watching the lightning. So when she stops menstruating, when she's menstruating, she stops fasting. As soon as she stops, she does the ghusl. The next day, she continues the fasting where she left off.
So she don't make up the fast, though, right?
Now she's going to do 60 days. But her is 60 days because obviously she's probably going to have at least 2 or 3 menstrual cycles in that 60-day period. So she's going to have to stop 2 or 3 times. If we say that the woman has to fast 60 consecutive days, and every time the menstrual cycle comes around, she has to start over again, she's never going to finish it until she becomes like 60 years old and goes to menopause. So it's like, and who knows if she's going to live that long. So no, that's, in the deen of Yusuf, and this religion is easy. So there's a way for everybody, So no, she stops while she's menstruating. Menstruation finishes, she continues the very next day. If she does not consent to continue the next day, now she's reset. Yes, go back to 0. She has to begin again the very next day unless she has a valid excuse for not fasting as soon as the cycle finishes. Just like the salah. She can't just sit there and say, like Maghrib's already been prayed. Her menstrual cycle stops. before the adhan of Isha. And even some of the adhan, the ulama say, even if the adhan of Isha is called, because we can combine between Maghrib and Isha, then what does she do? She takes a ghusl, she prays Maghrib, and she prays Isha together. If the adhan for Isha comes in. So there's no, she has to get right back to worship of Allah as soon as that cycle finishes. As soon as it finishes, the salat, the siyam, everything, she has to get right back to it. You have a question or something? Is eating chocolate during Ramadan halal, Baba?
Chocolate pizza.
Alright. This person can continue the fast where he stopped. The stoppage that will cause a person to begin from day one is the stoppage without a valid excuse. If the person is unable to carry out this action, he goes to the third option. The third option is to feed 64 people. A person has the option of feeding 60 different people all at once or one by one. So you don't need to feed 60 people all at once. You can feed one person a day for 60 straight days. You can feed the same person, you can feed different people. You can take one poor person and feed them for 60 days straight. Or you can feed what?
When you're feeding for 60 days straight, for those 60 days, even though you're feeding, are you allowed to have sexual intercourse in those 60 days, or only when you finish?
As long as it's not Ramadan.
Yeah, but because the shahrain,
no, but there's nothing of them not being allowed to go to each other.
Oh, okay.
But if well, that's a whole other issue, man. But yeah, he can, there's no issue. As long as he's not going to go back and do it in Ramadan again, then that's a whole other issue. Alright, so the third option is to feed 64 people. A person has the option of feeding 60 different people all at once or one by one. He can feed one person 60 times if he desires. He can feed 10 people 6 different times. There is breathing room with how the person wishes to carry out the kaffarah. As far as the amount of food he should provide for each person, he has to feed the person with enough food to satiate the appetite. What if he reaches 50 people and he dies?
Does the woman have to carry it on?
A family member can feed the other 10 people.
Yeah, so the family, whoever's inheriting from him, can continue on to finish up his kaffarah. Yeah. Obviously, he told his wife because she's part of the reason that he's doing it in the first place. Unless she died while he was feeding the 60 people, then we got a problem. Alright, but his wife's gonna know, she's gonna know, she'll feed the rest. So she was a participant. Alright, so as far as the amount of food he should provide for each person, he has to feed the person with enough food to satiate the appetite, which means what? That the person, you don't have to feed them like a buffet, but you can't give them ramen noodles. You gotta do what? Yeah, where he's like satisfied. When he leaves, he's good to go, And give him just the basic food that the people eat in the place where you live. Nothing, you don't have to go fancy, and you don't give them the coarse, cheapest food, you give them the basic food that the people eat. Alright, some scholars mention different amounts, but they all agree that the person being fed should leave on a full stomach. A person cannot invite a poor person to his house and offer him a piece of bread and a pickle and say, that is one. That amount of food will not suffice, and the poor person will probably leave the house making dua against the host for wasting his time. I know I would. If you invited me to your house and you offered me a piece of bread and a pickle, yeah, I'm like, I'll be, and I'm talking minimum. No, I wouldn't do that, Nah, you brought me all the way over. That pickle and bread wasn't even worth the gas money to come to your house. I think you could have DoorDashed me that pickle and bread, man. What are you doing? You bring me all the way to your house, man. You better have some pizza. Alright, that amount of food will not suffice. The food should be sufficient to fill the person up and satiate his appetite. The next issue we have to deal with is in regards to the order. Are we allowed to choose which one we want to do, or do we have to follow the order the Prophet ﷺ gave in the hadith? What do you think?
Follow the order.
Follow the order. Everybody says that, right? Alright, so we got consensus. Alright, the answer is that we have to follow the order of the hadith. Therefore, a person is required first to free a slave. If he's unable to do that, as is the case nowadays, he moves on to the next option and then the third. So the second option, what? No, fasting 60, based on this narration. Fasting 60 days. The last, what? Feeding 64 people. Yes. What about a person that cannot perform any of the three, similar to the companion in the hadith? Does the kaffarah become void? The answer to this question is no. The obligation will remain with the person until he has the means to carry out the kaffarah. So if you do not have the means, like say because of your health issues, you can't fast 60 days in a row. You have health issues that block you from doing that. And maybe you're in a financial bind or you can't feed 64 people. That kaffarah is hanging over your head until you have the ability. So maybe your financial situation improves a year from now, 2 years from now. Maybe your health improves a year from now, 2 years from now. That kaffarah is still an obligation. It does not just go away, poof, and disappear. No, you have to carry it out. Whether it's 2 years from now, 3 years, 5 years, whatever. What's up?
I'm probably a little late, but what does the kaffarah mean exactly?
Expiation.
Expiation, atonement. You do something wrong, and a kaffarah is like something that you have to do to make up for that wrongdoing. Yeah.
The sister has a question, does passing out break your fast?
Yeah, it depends. I think, if I'm not mistaken, let me see, this might actually be the chapter here. But if it's just passing out for a small period of time, no. That's the short answer. No.
I've never heard of that. That's not.
Yeah, no. Because, you didn't do anything to break his fast. Yeah. No, I thought I put a chapter of that in the book, but I guess I didn't. Yeah. So, it was, let me see. That was an issue that I was reading about, but maybe with the time restraints, because you got to keep in mind, I wrote this entire book in like 3 weeks. There's a lot of coffee, a lot of green tea, a lot of coffee. So, no monster. And that's what happened when you brought Monster home. Tell them, because it happened to you. Took that thing, bring this in my house ever again. Don't you ever bring this house up again. Pour that thing out right in front of him. I said, here, take a Dr. Pepper. All right. So yeah, inshallah. But as far as passing out, no. The person just passed out and got up, no. It does not break the fast. All right, the next issue we have to deal with, all right, the order we talked about that, right? What about the person that cannot perform any, yeah, we did that too. The obligation will remain with the person until he has the means to carry out the kaffarah. Therefore, if he's unable to free a slave and he's unable to fast 2 months consecutively because of illness or weakness, he should feed one person at a time until he feeds 60. And he can do that whenever every Friday. He can do that every Friday for like what, a year, maybe 2 months. Yeah, a year or 2 months, right? Yeah, it's about 60 months. You're doing 60 years, so 52 weeks in a year. Yeah, a year and 2 months. Yeah.
Let's just say, obviously, especially after they have the food drive, if someone has to do that 60, can you just join the food drive and give out food, and would that count as feeding?
No, the food has to come from you. All right. But if the person, but we have the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ supplied the person. So like, for example, the food drive can give you food as you being poor, and you can take the food and feed the poor people, yes. Yeah, you can do that yourself. But as far as the food drive himself, you just participating, no, because that's not from you. All right. What about his wife? Does she have to do the same? Now, because I told you, there's nothing mentioned about what?
About the wife.
There's nothing mentioned about the wife in the hadith, right? So we don't know. All right. this is an issue for debate among the scholars. There are two main opinions for this, and I will mention them below. The woman is not obliged to carry out the kaffarah because the husband doing that suffices for the both of them. So he takes on the kaffarah for the both of them because he's the man and he controls what happens. That wouldn't have happened without what? Without him instigating and starting it or allowing it to continue. Yes. Alright, they use the hadith for evidence, and the hadith, the previous hadith, for evidence. People who take this opinion say that the Prophet ﷺ did not mention anything about the wife. The wife normally does things out of obedience to the husband, so she is free of this issue. However, her fast is broken, and she will have to make the day up. The woman is obliged to do the same because, so this is the second opinion. I should have made that clearer, but 3 weeks. The second opinion is the woman is obliged to do the same because the ruling for the husband is a ruling for her. Since she fell into the same sin, she has the same kaffarah. Both sides have a strong argument and they both use the same hadith. And that's why I didn't mention another hadith, because both sides are going off base of that hadith alone. That is the hadith that we have for this issue. That's it. So each side is going to look at it the way that they look at it, right? No, but that's for provisions. That so but he's the qawwam, and he's the ra'i, the ra'in of the house. And so he's the authority. You know, and we're gonna see. You're gonna see what the stronger opinion is now, inshallah. At least in my opinion.
Because even if she does so, he's normally the person who's going to be providing food for the house anyway. So if he doesn't,
oh, you're talking about from that regards. Yeah, so he's going to be the one fulfilling those obligations. Yeah, exactly.
I know the ladies over there, they wanted to ask the mucus if you're fast.
The who?
Mucus.
No. Do I have to say that again? As long as the mucus is in the body and it doesn't come out of the body and go back into the body, then it doesn't break the fast. Yeah. So if you something comes up in your throat and you swallow it, no, because that's already in the body. It didn't leave the body. It's nasty, but sometimes you have no choice. You're in front of people. You can't just hakalugi up and spit in front of people. So it happens. What's up?
In the hadith, how the Prophet ended with telling the man to feed his family with the dates.
Yeah.
Was that the recommendation to, if you can't do those three, feed your family?
If he's in that type of situation, if he's that poor, and and people can witness that he is that poor, then we follow what the Prophet did. Alright, both sides have a strong argument. However, I stated previously that whenever an issue comes up similar to this one, what? I will always side with the people of hadith. The opinion of Sheikh Muqbil, rahimahullah, may Allah have mercy on him, was that the woman is not obliged to carry out the kaffarah because she was not mentioned nor asked about in this hadith, even though the man mentioned that he had sexual relations with her. If a person were to take the second opinion, I would not blame that person because it is definitely the safer opinion. The safer opinion is that the man does it and the woman does it. Both. Alright, that's definitely the safer opinion. However, if the woman was sleeping while this action started, or the man coerced her to participate, like he said, basically, either you do this to me, or I'm not talking to you for the rest of my life, or I'm going to divorce you. Or some stupid thing like this, and then she felt that she was coerced to participate in this act. And how can you blame her? She's trying to obey her husband and do what her husband asks. So without causing problems. So the man coerced her to participate in the act. There is no doubt that she has no kaffarah binding on her. The issue becomes different if she was a willing participant or if she initiated the action herself. So if she was the one that started it, then we can say, okay, look at the two opinions. Which one's the safer opinion? The second one, that the man and the woman have to both do the kaffarah. And when does that become even more safer is when the woman herself, say he's sleeping, and then she's all up on him in the middle of Ramadan, you know, and then he wakes up, and then what happens. But she initiated it, right? So there's no way that she can sit back and say, oh no, you know, he coerced me or he ordered. No, you started it. So in this case, you know, to be safer, we say that no, he woke up and he had a choice of to continue the act or what? Or cut it short right there. If he continued, then now he's an active participant. But she started it, so what will we say? The safer opinion for these two is what? Yeah, both of them should do the kaffarah. Both of them. Because they both actively participated. But if the man is just like jumps on, you know, and the woman just feels like I have to obey my husband, no, you know, leave her out of it. Because she's just doing what she thinks is her obedience to us. He has to take on that kaffarah on his own. Alright. If the woman is the one who that initiated the action, the stronger opinion would now be the second one. Moreover, if the husband was sleeping and the woman began the activity, there is no doubt that she is responsible for the kaffarah and not the husband. Allah knows best. We finished this chapter today. We got 2 more pages, 2.25 pages left. Should we finish it? How much time has it been going? Let's try to finish it, inshallah. Because these are smaller issues, inshallah, no problem. Issue number 9, does taking insulin injections break a person's fast? So here again, I told you that I was trying to keep this book very, very what? Minimum concise, you know, so the people can get what they need. So this issue being that this is a newer issue, I just dealt with the fatawa from Sheikh Atonement, rahimahullah. So there's so much that goes into this issue. And I do not see myself as being qualified to deal with it, and I still don't. Therefore, I'm going to give you the fatwa of Sheikh Al-Uthaymeen, rahimahullah. The Sheikh said the type of injection that causes a person's fast to be void, is an injection that provides some form of nutrition. So the injection of insulin does not break the person's fast. Allah knows best. Allah knows best. I'm just going to say that's what Sheikh Al-Uthaymeen said. I'm not getting involved in this because I have no way in that level to speak about it. I don't know what goes into an insulin injection. I don't know how dependent the person is on it. And until I sit down with a person and talk to them about it, that's the fatwa. That's what Sheikh Al-Uthaymeen said. Rahimahullah, that's what we're going to go with. That's taqleed, right? That's blind following, yes? No, not really.
You get the evidence from a sheikh.
But no, isn't blind following is like when you follow the sheikh, even though you don't know his evidence?
Yeah, I mean, in this case, we know Sheikh Al-Uthaymeen to be a person of the Sunnah, to be the person who's trying to go out and constantly try to get the correct opinions. And he's going to make a mistake just like anybody. The only difference between us and them and the ulama is our mistakes are a lot more, their mistakes are a lot less. But he's known for being a person of the Sunnah, so we're not blind following anybody. We know what the person, we know his ilm, we know his knowledge, we know what he's about. So if we don't have the answer, there's nothing wrong with going back to the ulama and giving an answer. But otherwise, we want to do it from what? We have a hadith, we have an ayat, we have a hadith, that's what we want to give the people. We don't want to say, Sheikh Al-Uthaymeen said this when, you know, Abu Bakr or Umar or somebody else said that. We want to give the Sahaba, we want to go back to the first 3 generations and give the people from that. But no, it's not blind following. Blind following is when you follow somebody, you follow without evidence, and you follow them whether they're right or wrong. And when the evidence is presented to you, and you have a choice of accepting the evidence or accepting the statement of your sheikh, what do? You accept the statement of the sheikh and reject the evidence. And that is blind following at its worst. At its worst. Issue number 10. What if the person required an IV? Would that break his fast? What do you guys say? Well, because we'll go back to the previous thing. About the penicillin, penicillin. Insulin and penicillin. Right. Think about the insulin, right? No. Go back to the insulin issue. The insulin issue, I said that, you know, the Shaykh Rahimahullah said that because it does not provide what? Nutrients, or any type of fluids or nutrients, but what does an IV provide?
Fluids.
Exactly. Alright, so now we have an issue, right? Alright, so usage of an IV would break a person's fast even if it was necessary. The IV is going to provide some form of nutrition and liquid to the person's body, because they also put vitamins and things into it. So you're getting nutrition, right? And that without doubt causes the fast to become broken. If a person requires an IV, the person is obviously sick and has an excuse to break the fast. Whenever he has the opportunity after the completion of Ramadan, he will make up the day or days he missed due to the IV. Number 11, what about a person who has a nocturnal emission? The nocturnal emission, you have a dream that ends up with you having to take a shower in the morning. Yes. His fasting is good. If a person has a nocturnal emission, his fast is valid, and it does not matter if it happens at night or if it happens even during the day. So let's say that you went home after Fajr and you've already started your fast, you went to sleep, and you woke up and you're like, oh no, man.
So what happens if like a lucid dream?
What?
What happens if like a lucid dream?
What do you mean a lucid dream?
Lucid dream is
What happens
basically,
if like a lucid dream, right?
That's the only way you're gonna have this time, bro. That's what it's saying.
lucid dream is basically like when you're in the state of you're almost asleep, you know what's going on, so you have like kind of control of what you can imagine. It's like a lucid dream.
Daydreaming or something?
No, because I know what it is. 'Cause I've experienced it. Basically, it's like you're not asleep, but you're like the level right under sleeping, and you're like closing, and you can imagine, like you can make it like your own reality. Like if you want to.
I don't know what this stuff does. If you're fully asleep and you have an emission in your sleep, nothing's upon you. Wake up, take a whistle, continue your fast. If you're sitting back daydreaming or something like that, thinking about girls, and all of a sudden you're like, uh-oh, no, your fast is gone. That's you. You did that to yourself. Yeah, that's the short bus stuff right there, man. Yeah. The short bus activity, right? And he's driving the short. Yeah, so just control your thoughts in Ramadan. Control. This is all about self-control, self-restraint, right? What's up?
So you know how yesterday
You shouldn't even be here listening to this, man. Go ahead.
you know how yesterday you said you cannot waste food? So what if it's like pork? You still can't waste it?
Pork?
Yeah, you still can't.
No, you have to waste that. It's haram.
Yeah, so you can waste it.
You get rid of it. It's haram.
Yeah, so
It's not permissible for.
it's not like it's not you're not gonna get punished for wasting.
No, you get rid of it. In the last days of the Isa alayhi salam, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned about Isa when he comes back, he's gonna break what? So break the salib. So you yaksir the salib, wa yaqtul al-hajj. And he's gonna kill all the pigs. Wa yaqtul al-khinzir. You're gonna tell Isa alayhi salam that he's wasting the pigs? No, he's gonna destroy them all, kill them all. So no, you destroy it. Anything that's haram, it's not permissible for you to use it under any circumstances. That's whether it's pork, whether it's alcohol. If it's alcohol, you pour it out. You don't give it to a kafir, you don't give it to anybody, there's no way to benefit from something that's haram. If it's money from interest, you give money, there's interest money in your bank account, what do?
Give it away.
You take it out and you burn it. You can't give that to anybody. It's haram. You can't give it to the masjid, you can't give it to the poor people. Why would you give that to the poor people? You're giving them things, the worst form of money. No, you burn that, you destroy it. It's not, you take it out of the bank so the kuffar can't have it and destroy it. Destroy it, but it's not permissible for anybody to have that money. Anything haram, you destroy it. So pork, no, you don't give it to animals, you don't say, well, no, you destroy it. It goes in the garbage where it belongs.
Burn it so no homeless person picks it.
I don't burn it because we don't want to smell like burnt pigs. You know, that's,
Oh, not the pay, I thought that was the money, the money.
oh yeah, the money you burn it, yeah, burn it.
So, like,
I mean, you shouldn't open up an account that has interest anyways. Because opening up the account that has interest is what?
Oh.
You signed the contract of interest, you're cursed. You're cursed, your money's cursed, everything's cursed. And the people that witnessed it with you, if you y'all go over there. Yeah, I'm happy for you.
I wonder if that was a dare. I wonder if that was a dare, like
No, he's probably just running away from us. But anyway, so, what was that?
Said the person that was witnessing.
The person that witnesses it is cursed. So if you take your children in to witness you signing the contract with Riba, I don't know who's this. Who's this? I don't know. Take it. Go ahead. Yeah. You know, you put the curse on your children. Then you take the interest money out, you feed your children, you give it to the masjid. No, that's not permissible. You know, you give from the good of your wealth. You know, they don't pay you, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is good. Everything about Allah, everything that comes from Allah is what? It's good. And He doesn't accept anything from us except that is what?
Which is good.
It's good. You go and give interest, money from interest to a person and say that's charity, you got a sin. You have a sin because that's a ta'awan. Ta'awan ala ithmi wa udwan. You're helping in evil. To promote evil. What's up?
they find like, what if you like don't have nothing to eat and you
Hold on. Yo, y'all get up out of here. Huh?
you don't have nothing to eat, but it's the only thing you do is like get out. But you can't.
No, but this is the darura. If you're in a life or death situation, that's it. If you're in a life or death situation and the only thing that you can find is a pork sandwich to keep you alive, you eat what you need to eat. You don't go and say, all right, it's halal, it's buffet time. You eat just enough that you need to eat to get to where you need to get to where you can get regular food, and that's it. And it only becomes halal for that time that it's a darura. You know, and that's only for stuff that's actually going to, like, you know, give you nutrition or something for what you need. Like some people say, oh, you know, I'm dying of thirst, man, so alcohol's halal because I'm dying of thirst. No, that's stupid because why? If you're dying of thirst, what's alcohol going to do?
Make you more thirsty.
It's going to kill you faster. Exactly. It's not water. It's going to dehydrate you even more. So under these types of things, under no circumstances do they have become a necessity ever. Something like pork, something like a dead animal, like a deer that got hit by a car, and you take it and that's the only thing that you have to eat. You're up in the mountains, it's snowing, and you're starving to death, and you need to eat something before you die. You take the dead animal, and you cook it up, and you eat what you need to eat. Even if you have to end up eating the whole animal to get out of the mountain, to get to where you can get regular food, once you can get to the regular food, you stop it. That's it. It's not halal anymore. You go back to eating the halal food and stuff. Huh?
So when you talk about life and death, what popped in my head is what happened if one person, like for example, 9/11, right? Anyway,
Good. After.
No. Oh, okay.
YouTube's got strict restrictions, you know.
Look how we dress.
We've already gone through having 3 strikes on the channel, so we're kind of like, you know, we're tired of the DRs from YouTube. You know the DRs? You got that in the prisons and the DRs? Of course. The disciplinary write-ups, we're tired of them. Alright, let's go over this hadith real fast. Alright, and it occurs while the nocturnal mission is out of the person's control and it occurs while he's sleeping, and anything that is said or done while the person is sleeping is not held against him. We can see this in the following hadith in the Musnad of Imam Ahmad, rahimahullah, حدثنا هشيم أنبأنا يونس عن الحسن عن علي رضي الله عنه سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول رفع القلم عن 3. So the pen has been raised on what? 3 people. Alright. عن الصغير حتى يبلغ, for the young child until he reaches the age of puberty. Alright. وعن النائم حتى يستيقظ, and for the person who's sleeping until he wakes up. وعن المصاب حتى يكشف عنه, and this is the person obviously that he is musab with what?
Sanity.
Yes, he's lost his sanity. So he's in musab, he's afflicted with insanity until he gets the faculties of his mind back. So he's not held accountable for the things he says or does during that time. Alright, summary of the issues. Alright, so let's go over this quickly, inshallah. The three things that break your fast are eating, drinking, and sexual activity. 2, if you eat or drink while fasting due to forgetfulness, you have to stop as soon as you remember that you are fasting and your fast remains valid. 3, using miswak or brushing your teeth with a toothbrush is allowed during the fast. However, a person has to make sure not to swallow any of the liquids. If the water from the miswak is swallowed, that will break your fast. 4, kissing your spouse does not break your fast as long as it is done with the lips only. Vomiting does not break your fast, whether it is voluntary or involuntary. Cupping does not break your fast, and the strong opinion about the hadiths that mention the fast being broken is that they are abrogated. Having sexual relations with your spouse breaks your fast, and there is a kaffarah connected to it. The kaffarah does not become void because a person is unable to carry out the actions. It remains an obligation for that person. The woman is not obligated to carry out the kaffarah if the man initiated the act. The kaffarah is in an order which was mentioned in the hadith. First, the person has to free a slave. Second, he has to fast 2 months consecutively. Third, he has to feed 64 people. Using insulin does not break your fast because it does not provide nutrition to the body. Using an IV, whether it is necessary or not, breaks the fast because it provides liquid and or nutrition to the body. A nocturnal emission will not break the fast. The person is not held accountable for what he does or says while he is sleeping. Any questions? If anybody has questions down below, send them up.